So you might think that, just because sales are up, business is healthy and everything's good. But if you analyze things by weekly revenue booked by rep, it's going to show you your producers and, who's inconsistent. And also it'll help a lot with forecasting. And if you can't break it down by rep, and by week, you might be managing, just by how you feel about things rather than, the actual underlying data. And that's where the value is by analyzing the underlying data. So I'm going to show you how to calculate everything based off of sales rep and booked revenue. Also get a week number, so you can do it by week, and then have a total number, and then a 4-week sort of, rolling average. Okay, so here in the data set, and it's a big data set. And if you want this, there's a link to download it. And if you can't find it, just shoot me an email. And so what we need is we need to find out, which deals are closed. And so you're going to have, appointment date, was the appointment set, the estimate, when was the estimate given, all that stuff. What is the system type, all that stuff. But what you really need is was the deal closed, which is going to be the deal status. So what we're looking for is just one, right? Was the deal won versus no decision, lost, any other variables. We just want, was the deal won? And then we need booked revenue. And then we're going to need, when was the start of the week? Okay. And then also we're also obviously going to need the sales rep, which is way over here, the rep name. Okay, so to get the unique list, we need to get the unique list here of the week number, and then we need to sort it. So to get the unique list, we just use, I guess I can just go right here, type in week number, and then equals unique. And so what we have here in this column here, the close week start date, and you can get this from the close date and time. And also you have everything. It's formatted as a number because dates are stored as numbers. But the first thing you're going to see is we need to sort this from, oldest to newest. And also we need to get rid of this 0. The reason you're seeing is 0 is because any blank in the data set is being sorted as a 0. But what we can do is equal sort and then unique, and then that will sort everything just like we want, from smallest to largest. And then I'm going to highlight this by pressing Control-Shift down, and then Control-C, Control-Shift-V to remove. We want to remove the formula. And now I'm just going to delete this because this is just a 0. Okay, so the next thing we need is to do the exact same thing, but with the sales rep. So what we want across the top here is the sales rep. And we have that data way over here called rep, right? Rep name. So equals sort unique, and then I'll do the table because we know it's the table. And then we want to do is we want to get the dollar amount by week. And so what we have to do is we need to sum the booked revenue column if the deal is won, Johnson, week number 1229, and then also the deal status is 1. But the first argument with SUMIFS is we need to do the booked revenue. So the first argument here you can see is the sum range. So essentially, where are the numbers? And the numbers are going to be way over here in the booked revenue column. So here, table booked revenue, comma. And now you can choose which order you want to do. You can do the rep name first. You can has to be the value column. So deal status, WON for 1. Then we can do the close week start. So this is the week number. And then this is going to be here. And then comma. And then finally, we need to do the sales rep. Way over here in column J, comma. And then Avery Johnson, and then you can just close your brackets and you get the number. So Control-Shift and the number 4 to get it formatted as a $sign, and then you can just remove the decimals. Okay, so we have that. So now what we want is we want this to be able to, drag down and go across. But if we do this, I'll just go down. What you'll notice is now Avery Johnson, you see how Avery Johnson is the reference point, but if we drag it down, it goes down. This is called relative referencing. Everything's relative. You drag it down, the formula is going to come down. You drag it left to right, the formula is going to go left to right. And so we need to lock this. We need to tell Excel, like, hey, anywhere we have the week number, as we drag it across, we don't want it to change. We want to lock it on that column. But for the sales rep, as we drag it down, we don't want it to change. As we drag it over, we do want it to change. As we drag it down, we don't want it to change. As to where with the week number, as we drag it down, we do want it to change. But as we drag it over, we do not want it to change. And so the way you do that is with relative referencing, or absolute referencing, at the column level and at the row level. So anywhere you see the blue, which is the column here, maybe it's not blue for you, but wherever this cell is being referenced, put the $ before the column, which is before the letter, right? Because letters in Excel are the columns. And then anywhere you see the red, or wherever your row reference, you want to put the $. If I drag it across, it's 0. And you can see it's because in a table, as you drag things, it doesn't, it still changes. So the way around that is you just press Control-C and then you paste it across. Don't drag it across. And it still looks like it might be wrong, but it's not. If you double click down, you'll see everything fills in. Okay, so now we want a team total, and then we want a 4-week moving average. So the average of these 4. And then as you drag this down, if you remember the referencing, the absolute referencing, this is coming down. Cells and when not to is pretty valuable. And if you have any questions on that, just shoot me an email. Okay, so the next thing we want is we want to conditional format this sample. This is the best way to do it. You could have something to where, you could have a reference cell and say 30,000, and anything that's less than 30,000 will, change to a certain color. But for now, we'll just format it this way. So conditional formatting, color scales, and then you can see here green is high, red is low. This one is red is high and green is low. But we want to do green as being more favorable. And now you can just sort of easily see, who's performing and who isn't performing. And so we have that. And the final thing we want to do is we want to create the chart here. And the chart is going to have booked revenue as the columns and the moving average, the 4-week average as the line. So what you do is just, you can highlight, or I'll show you a shortcut. So Control-Shift down. If you click the week, click in cell B2, press Control-Shift and the down arrow, and then hold down the Control key, recommended charts. And you could use this. I prefer columns with the line because this gets a little bit noisy. And so what you could do is go to all charts and then combo, and then it automatically sort of fills in there. But if you just want to make sure that the team total is a column and the 4-week average is a line, and then click OK. We can make it dark, just to make it a little bit easier to see. And then from here, we can call it, like weekly revenue booked by rep, by, technician, by, whatever you want. And then just for a little bit of sort of housekeeping, let's just, because it's sort of hard to see the columns. So just click on a column or double click on a column. Well, see if I can. I don't know why. Let me zoom all the way in. Try to get on a column here. Yep. Okay. And then once you do that, go to the little paint bucket. And then for the border, you can do solid line. And then you can choose your color. But the main thing is we want to make the width quite a bit. Maybe, you can stop when you want, but say 2.5 point. So yeah, so what this is showing is that if the column is above the line, and so yeah, it's pretty straightforward, pretty simple video. But if you have any questions, then just let me know. Let me move my big head back over here. So you can shoot me an email, questions@databoards.io. If you want this file, there's a link to download it. If you need some help structuring your data, because there's a good chance that in your Service Titan or whatever software you're using, there's a good chance you already have this data. You might just need some help sort of massaging it to make it usable. And so if you do need some help with that, let me know. There's a